Okay, I got the red smoke.
Gun runs north to south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke.
Okay, copy. West of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now.
Come on with it, baby. Give it to me. I need it. Get cleared hot.
Copy, cleared hot.
So, be honest with you, you seemed a little whiny on the internet.
Yeah.
Bordering on cuntish. If I'm being honest.
Well, I was feeling a little bit.
I'm on a little rucksack march, and no podcasters will even host me. Oh, no one will even talk to me.
That part I do regret, but it wasn't even actually podcast. It's trying to get.
It's like, hey man, you have my number. You've been
Well,
up here
I'm
a
not going
bunch.
to call and ask you to be on, but
Why? What have I said let's pretend like that has never happened before. This episode is brought to you by Peak. This is the longest running sponsor so far in the year of 2025, and I have been a pretty heavy coffee guy since my mid-20s, which was the first time I actually tried a cup of coffee. Late to the game. Never thought I'd be a tea person. Hadn't really had any interest until this brand reached out. They sent me a bunch of stuff, and I get this question all the time. Do you really like it? Do you enjoy it? The answer is yes. There's a couple reasons why. First off, convenience, right? For those of you audio only, I just poured out of their beaker one of these sachets, which is what they call the containers that hold their tea. I can travel with these things. I can bring them into the studio. I just need hot water, and I can get that in restaurants or from a kettle, whatever it may be. There's an offer at the end. This beaker is really cool because you can measure it out specifically, and then there's this little frother that is pretty amazing as well. You combine those things with some warm water, and you have an amazing cup of tea. Peak has a variety of different teas for different reasons. Everything from radiant skin to immune support to digestion to energy. It's effective. They use a cold extraction technology, which gently extracts and preserves the phytonutrients, which is going to give you the maximum benefit in every sip. They use exquisite ingredients, if you will. Their words, not mine, but I would agree given the taste. And designed, probably this is the key feature for me in addition to the taste and convenience, designed for busy lives and distinguished palates. So you can conquer your day with ease and enjoyment. Really, put a fistful of these in the bag you carry around and you're good to go. So if you're ready to elevate your day and transform your health and give tea a try, for a limited time, you can get 20% off of the Pu'er bundle plus a free starter kit, which is this beaker I lifted up, this frother that I talked about, both of which are pretty awesome. Oh, and this thing is rechargeable, by the way. You don't need to worry about batteries. Head over to my link, peaklife.com/clearedhot. PIQUE, Papa India Quebec Uniform Echo, life.com/clearedhot to claim this exclusive offer. Back to the show. You come on anytime you want to.
Yeah, I know. It's actually, and I said podcast. It's actually more like the actual like media, as far as like Fox News or some of the news stations that
we've got a greater reach.
We've got somebody. Point. Well, podcast is where it's at. Obviously, the last election just proved that.
Which leads to the question of what do you think the Democratic strategy will be in 2028?
Yeah, they're already talking about trying to find the Democratic version of Joe Rogan, which is kind of funny because his name is Joe Rogan.
Yeah. He when I first met him, and I've known him long enough now to see his opinions on things change. He used to be staunchly, weed has no downside, it's for everybody. That's one of the main ones that he has shifted on. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he was probably not all the way to the left, but lefter leaning.
Yeah,
I think more than anything, what happened is they actually shifted the definition of what it means to be on the left. But yeah, they had him already.
Yeah, there was a little image of like, I think they used Joe or somebody as an individual who was left of center at one point, and then he doesn't move, and then the whole entire scale slides, and the next thing you know, you look over and you're like, wait, am I on the right now?
Well, to be clear, the right side is shifting as well, and the extreme right scares me just as much as the extreme left.
Yeah, and actually we'll probably get into that a little bit because I agree. It's actually what bothers me a lot about what's going on right now is that if you think for yourself at all, you're a traitor, whether you're left or right.
It's either 100% party line or you are off the cool bus.
Right.
Yeah.
And you look at what's going on with this Epstein thing right now. Like all of a sudden, even Trump said, like, my past supporters, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude.
Michael and I were talking about this yesterday. And again, I start this with, I didn't pay an immense amount of attention to politics younger in my life. Not that I'm an expert by any stretch. But I cannot think of an example of either a candidate or an elected official that has kind of turned on the base of people and said, I don't want your support anymore.
Yeah.
What is going on there?
It's dude, it's bonkers. It's bonkers.
Yeah.
And
have you seen some of the response? And again, we covered this yesterday, but I take everything I see online with a grain of salt. I have seen now my fair share of people like, I lost friends. I have problems with family now. I lost a job because of supporting you. And now I'm an idiot and you don't want my support. I'm done. Now, whether they mean that or not, or if that's an emotional thing, much like somebody else who might be in this room who makes emotional content, sniveling, whining, those would be good terms.
Sometimes. Yeah. When you get off the calls I had that day, you feel a little bitchy.
Here's a better question. In your rucksack, were there 50 grenades?
I take 50 grenades everywhere I go.
I take 51.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, you know, you're a SEAL. I can't be quite as cool as you. So
Sure you can.
Yeah.
Just make stuff up.
Jesus. Oh my God. Yeah.
No, it's
anyway.
I have never seen somebody turn on their base like that. And
well, you can do that. I guess one way you could look at it is when you only have one term to serve, you can be whatever you want to be because you don't have to worry about re-election.
Only care about yourself.
Right.
If you cared about the trajectory, I mean, to me, when I've talked with people about this, what do they call it when you're a lame duck presidency?
Yeah.
Because you obviously can't be reelected. But if you believe in the core principles of whatever party you're in, you would have to think a little bit about paving the runway for whoever's going to be next.
Yeah.
Because you would think somewhere in the Republican Party, people are saying, listen, J.D. Vance is likely to be the next candidate because he was the VP.
And he's wildly popular right now.
So why, and not only Trump, but a lot of other people on the right-hand side of the political aisle ran on a lot of the same platforms of transparency.
Right.
Drain their words, not mine, drain the swamp, this, that, or the other. A lot of them mentioned the Epstein files specifically. So
JFK, MLK, Epstein, we're going to release it all. They brought it up. I mean, Trump himself. And to be fully honest, like, just the people that don't know me on this podcast, like, I was a Trump supporter. I still am a Trump supporter.
You have a MAGA tat under your shirt.
Well, tramp stamp. Yeah.
That's very Jocko of you.
Yeah.
Not here to confirm or deny. I'm just saying tribal, maybe, lower back.
Yeah, well, don't
ask him about it.
Don't be jealous.
You didn't hear about it from me.
Yeah. No, I mean, Trump Jr. last spring stayed at my house. Like, I consider him a friend. I'm friendly
same
with...
Same bedroom or just same house?
Obviously the same bedroom.
Just checking. All right.
Yeah. I absolutely adore Tulsi. Hung out with her quite a bit. Awesome. I know a bunch of people throughout that administration and was a big supporter of it and still am. I mean, there's still a lot of good things they're doing. And this is kind of the point. Like, well, I get comments on my Instagram on even like that post or other ones I've made where I'm critical of Trump or their administration. And then people come on and they're like, you get what you deserve. See, we told you what.
This.
And it's like, oh yeah, I'm sure Kamala was going to be better for us. Like, yeah, I'm sure you guys were right the whole time. Like,
I see that on the internet quite a bit too.
Yeah, it's like, come on, just because I'm being critical of Trump, like, let's slow your roll here. This doesn't mean that I think Kamala or Biden was the answer.
Well, two things can be true at once, or 5 things or 6 things can be true at once. There can be, and he actually, I hate even using the word truth social or the truths. It's just,
yeah,
I'm not a fan of that particular vernacular. But, one of the things he said was, well, people are ignoring the successes. It's like, no, they might be paying a little bit more attention to a few things like what you were mentioning, bring America, the manufacturing back. But, oh, by the way, let's tariff the countries that you have to buy this manufacturing equipment from, which is going to hinder the growth and bring, like, okay, 2 things can be very true here. Like, you can be having some victories, but also over here in this area, this was the section on my report card in most of my schooling years where it was like needs improvement.
Yeah.
That's where I spent a lot of my time.
And these people aren't our best friends. They're not your family. These people are government officials. And even if they were your best friends, as soon as they take that oath, they're the government. And it's our job as citizens to hold the government accountable. And again, I love a lot of what he's doing with the immigration stuff. I think there's a bunch of things that Trump administration, I mean, how little did Biden do in 4 years and how much did Trump's administration, or at least appear to be doing, like with the Doge stuff originally? Musk. But there again,
Doge kind of lost some steam.
It did. And you know, you have to wonder, of course, people will spin it and say Elon was in it for his own contract, blah, 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 blah stuff, right? With
Didn't
Tesla
work out so well for Elon.
and SpaceX. But was Elon actually trying to do the right thing and trying to find cuts, you know, and trying to find the waste, you know?
I think so, but I think you also have to do it properly. Mm-hmm. I think the Doge concept was more of a broadsword, where it needed to be a combination of probably a chainsaw, which, did you ever imagine a world where a man would get on stage with a running chainsaw? Hopefully at least that thing was demilled and not sharp.
Yeah.
Because that man, I know nothing about diagnosing anybody with autism, but I feel like that man is pegging the spectrum in many respects.
1,000%.
So, yeah. Let's hope that didn't have an actual chain that was sharp.
I don't think he cuts his own firewood in the winter.
No. Do you think he started that thing on his own, or somebody had to prime it
sure
for
it
him?
was running.
But you need chainsaw, broadsword, but you also really need a scalpel too.
And this is the point of this conversation that we'll get into, is there's nuance. You know, anytime that you take a broadsword to, you know, a situation, when you're running the entire federal government, it takes nuance throughout the entire thing, quite honestly. And it's the nuances where you can really lose people, or you can really damage unintentionally, you know, things that you actually believe in, you accidentally damage. And this is my point with some of this stuff, is I don't actually feel that they're bringing in the people that are involved in it, truly, that know it, to ask some advice or some questions of like, hey, we're doing this, or we've done this. Maybe that pendulum, we swung it super, super hard, but we realized, and Trump even said in the beginning, like, hey, we're going to swing really hard one way, and we're going to do some things, and we're going to go back and fix some things, you know? And so it's like, well, okay, I'm trying to identify some things that maybe need to be fixed to help them actually accomplish their goal. You know, it's like seeing a mountain peak way off in the distance, and we all agree we're going to hike to it and climb it and stand on top of it. And
not me. I'm fly a helicopter. Meet you guys up there.
Yeah, that's true. But there's a way to do some planning, and there's a way to find your route to that's the easiest route. Or you can choose some ways where there's some people going to fall off the cliff unnecessarily along the way that don't need to fall off the cliff, you know.
Why wouldn't they bring in the people with the knowledge?
I don't know. And so
there's
part
not
of my
a good reasoning for not bringing the experts in. There's not a lot of good reasons for
and
that.
That's my ask. Like that's what and you know, you can blame Trump on this, but let's face it, Trump has thousands of people in Washington helping him.
Be careful where you go with
write
this
these
analogy,
policies.
because it applies to both sides of the political aisle. People try to hang the Afghanistan withdrawal specifically on Biden, things like that. The same architecture and structure is true. Overall responsible because he sits in the chair. You got to be careful with how far you extrapolate that out.
Yeah, and
he owns the decisions.
He does, and I'm not, and that's why I'm talking about him specifically, because granted, he's not sitting there writing the policies, but he's approving it and he owns it, right? And so this is where I believe they need to bring some people in, and this is why I'm trying to be vocal about it, and where my frustrations actually boiled over are, I tried through the right paths, right? So I called our senators, and our senators said, I mean, I specifically talked to them, and they said, well, this is POTUS. This is White House. Like this isn't policy that's happening. Like all this tariff stuff isn't happening through lawmaking, right? And I can also argue, I understand why Trump's doing it the way he is, because our Congress basically did jack shit for the first 6 months. I mean,
how dare you, sir? They collected paychecks. They spent 70% of their time working on being reelected and fundraising. Mm-hmm. How can you say they did nothing like that?
Well, it's true. And they did some stock trading as well, some very successful stock trading on both sides.
Yep.
Both sides. I actually went and made a little stock trader watch list.
They have mutual funds that match politicians.
I just took all, and I did it on our side of the aisle. I took all of Marjorie Taylor Greene's stocks that she purchased in a 5-day period, and I just made a stock trader list just for fun, a watch list on my app.
How's she doing?
She's doing real good.
Like better than Warren Buffett. Good,
not as good
she?
as Pelosi.
Nobody does.
Well, no, she's
You know
the
who's
goat.
amazingly good at stock picking as well? Pelosi's husband.
Well,
Bangers,
I'm sure
swinging for the
I'm sure
fence.
he's got a deep financial background, and
I mean, we're talking home run after home run, stepping up to the plate and just grand slam.
yeah, I'm sure it's luck and some skill. I'm sure there's nothing there. There's no there.
Why do we tolerate this? These people are supposed to work for us, to include the President of the United States.
But we allow ourselves to get more riled up, and I'll agree. Preface this by saying there's nobody that's more pissed and frustrated about the Epstein thing as me. But at the end of the day, those are the topics we love to get riled up about. We love to get riled up about the space CEO and his girlfriend that got caught at a Coldplay concert together and talk about it. Like, who gives a shit? Like,
I would say they're probably their families.
yeah, and that's their problem. I don't care. But
Well,
we get distracted.
But here's the thing with the Epstein one. The Epstein one, I think, and again, talked with Michael yesterday, I think we found an issue that wherever you sit on the political spectrum, we agree upon.
We agree. Well,
whether it's underage women,
it's trafficking,
kids, trafficking in general. So there's that, but the problem is, and this is why I think it goes beyond just that particular issue. It's transparency. It was the words I'm about to pair, people will laugh at. It was a political promise of transparency. It was part of the campaign.
It was every speech.
Every speech. And that's the bigger issue. So it is directly, I think, tied to that because, I mean, I'm sorry, the FBI are the people who said there are over 1,000 victims. Those are not my words.
That's right.
That's the words of the FBI. And now, hey, there's nothing here. And by the way, this was a hoax the whole time. I'm sorry. You're going to lose people at the door.
There's a woman in prison for trafficking. Well, she had to traffic to someone.
So
who'd she traffic to?
Epstein himself. She is in prison for trafficking to Epstein. You tell you, I'd love to have a podcast with.
Yeah, she would be a good one.
We would both shoot ourselves in the back of the head afterward, accidentally. But
the Epstein thing, I believe this is our modern day government cover up, modern day JFK cover up. I believe that this is going to be something that if they don't reveal this stuff now, 60 years from now, people are still going to be asking, when are you going to reveal these files? How are you going to? This is
if they revealed it and there was nothing in there, would you accept that? Because that's an important question. Some people are past the point where they're going to believe either way.
But there isn't nothing in there. There's something.
I agree.
Now, maybe if they reveal it and Donald Trump's name doesn't exist in it or Bill Clinton's name doesn't exist in it, do you believe it?
Both of those names demonstrably will exist in there. And I've talked about this a few times. There is the illicit activities that he was involved with, but then there's broad social circle overlap, of which both of those had social circle overlap. So it's going to show up somewhere.
I don't believe that Donald Trump had any part, and this is just my belief, and you can just say that's because I'm a supporter of his and his family, but I don't believe that he had any part in any illicit activities.
I agree, but I also think he knew Epstein far better than he let on in the campaign as well. Met the guy once or twice.
Probably knew he was a shitbag.
As you and I have social circles, I am not a huge fan of everybody, and sometimes I end up in places where I don't want to be with people. I can explain it, especially if it were to, earth-shattering news, like this person is wearing human skin as a leotard at their house.
Yeah.
But like, listen, I kind of know that dude. I don't agree with that at all. It's a little icky for me to explain it, but I think that's where the names, those particular names, would show up.
Right.
But they'll still be in the investigative documents. It doesn't mean that they were part of a crime.
That's right.
It's just an uncomfortable. Here's my worry. If that's the case, and he doesn't want to disclose those investigative documents because he doesn't want to explain that, and he lets one abuser pass because of that,
right?
That's a full stop for me.
And I agree. If that's where I'm at, is if he's not willing to take the word is now, it sounds like from what's being reported, allegedly Trump met Melania through Epstein. Okay, and maybe it's that whole supermodel, Victoria's Secret, whatever network, like you say, group parties, whatever. Yeah. He could have very well met her through Epstein, an Epstein party or something that was completely valid way of meeting somebody.
If they're both adults and they're consenting, I don't care.
But it sounds like that's maybe if that gets out, that's potentially embarrassing. My argument is, okay, who cares if it's embarrassing or not?
Yeah.
If you're not willing to take that embarrassment on to expose
If a single abuser,
people who were abusing young women and boys, but especially young boys and young girls, then I write you off. Like,
well, I'm a fan.
I would be willing to expose anything embarrassing about myself to expose government officials or anyone involved in trafficking young women. Like,
I like documentaries, crime ones specifically. I've watched a bunch of them on Epstein. It's really clear that, yes, he had a propensity for young women, but it's also really clear he wasn't alone in what he was doing. There have been payments. There are connections. A lot of people say he was a Mossad agent. I don't know if I'm willing to go that far. I wouldn't be surprised if he was operating in plain sight with a little bit of oversight and protection from intelligence apparatus, because they want leverage on people as well.
Yeah.
Like the blackmail game, what do they say? Prostitution is the only business, is the oldest business that there was, or carpentry, whatever made the whorehouse first.
Yeah.
Politics and blackmail, those two probably came around at about the same time. I don't know if I'm willing to say he was a Mossad agent, but even in some of these documentaries, again, and this is the lens that I'm kind of looking at it through, and I've watched a bunch of them, and I'm not saying that they're all gospel, but if you or I had bumped up against law enforcement in some of those ways, I feel like we would have been treated differently. And
a really great YouTube explanation of all this that's super in depth, and I listened to it all the way up here this morning. Tucker Carlson just had on Daryl Cooper, and they have gone from the time the first record of Epstein showing up on the map anywhere at 20 years old as,
they talk about
as a
where he
hired
got his
math
money?
Professor. Well, that's the thing. It's
weird, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What
he was
fund
hired.
did he
was
manage?
Hired as a math professor at one of the most prestigious colleges in America at 20 years old, and he was a college dropout. And guess who was hired by?
So was
William Barr.
Goodwill Hunting, though. Also,
Bill Barr's dad hired him.
Let's just not. I mean, I know a story of a guy who was a janitor at MIT.
Yeah.
Solving math problems. You know what I mean? He's a dropout too.
Yeah. Well, the
amazing things happen sometimes.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does.
Goodwill Hunting.
The guy who hired him was Bill Barr's dad, and then 40 years later, Bill Barr's the guy that puts him in prison, and he dies under his watch. Like, but. Again, Tucker goes through with Daryl the entire, and all the connections to, there's too much stuff with the Iran-Contra situation, all the gun running, there's just too much there for that, not there for at the very end of this entire story to get to today and go, oh, there's nothing.
So I'm saying demonstrably, there's already been a vast amount of research proven, money paid. I mean, just really weird stuff like the billionaire that gave him power of attorney over his entire financial affairs, this fund that he was supposedly managing that nobody can find.
Right.
Again,
so here's my question to let Trump off the hook for a second. Is this a JFK situation where there's so much intelligence connections and power connections behind it that at the end of the day, all the people in modern day government today have some form of a threat happening where if you do release everything, you or your family members may cease to breathe air.
I mean, that's an awesome movie plot.
It is, but it's also,
okay.
I mean, who killed JFK?
Lee Harvey Oswald by himself. Yeah. He took a few shots from the whatever floor he was on, then ran to the grassy knoll and finished up. That's the theory I operate under. Yeah. There was multiple shooters. I'm like, no, it's the same guy. He was just moving quickly.
He was fast.
Yeah, faster than the car.
Yeah, Batman.
Yeah. So, okay, you're in the seat. What decision would you make?
If I'm Trump?
Mm-hmm. Or anybody who's in that seat, the movie plot scenario that you just laid out, which I guarantee you is probably being worked on in Hollywood somewhere, because it is a fantastic movie plot. Yeah. But you're the guy who has to make that call. What do you do? And you know these people.
It's easy for me to say sitting here with zero information, but in my mind, if we are okay with our government officials, and by all rights, it sounds like there's very powerful government officials, potentially major executives, the Bill Gateses of the world. If we allow this to go by and we don't correct it, we have lost our country and our society. And we have no over. If we have that lack of accountability held of our government officials, I don't think we have a country in 50 or 100 years. And so
you would release it?
In my mind, they should release everything. I don't care if it takes down everybody and we start over.
I agree.
I was actually hoping, and I'll admit, the people who come on my Instagram page and are like, you were such an idiot, you believed that he blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I actually did believe and hoped that Trump, going in as a lame duck president at 80 years old, would go, fuck it.
Why? Why did you believe that?
I'm blowing this shit up.
Why did you believe that he would do that?
Because the other thing to believe is that our country is over.
Well, what did you see?
Who else is going to do it?
What did you see in his first term that gave you the indication that he would do that?
It wasn't about his first term. It was the way he was treated since. The fact that the government came after him in the way that they did, with the court cases, and the way that our government, the first time, even with Clinton's, when Clinton was running against him, the way they spied on his campaign. And then especially the way him and his family were treated following everything around the January 6th stuff, which again, he didn't handle January 6th perfectly, but the way that they handled that afterwards, I believe that he was coming in pissed off and ready to axe everything. And I was okay with it. I was okay with coming in, and we talk about taking a broadsword, like taking an absolute broadsword to government, and exposing whoever needed exposed. It was, I don't know if I believed
that gets tough
it.
Because we do need some semblance of government to continue our day to day. And this is where it's like broadsword this, scalpel this. I totally agree with what you're saying, but it has to be done properly, because if we have a country that's not going to exist in 50 to 100 years, at least we have time. If we start broadswording everything and we cease to exist in 2.5 years, that's a little bit more of an existential threat.
When it comes to releasing pedophiles' names, I don't think there is a nuanced way to do it. You just fucking release it all and say, I don't care if it's, this might be unfair because I don't know what names, but I don't care if it's a Lindsey Graham. I don't care if it's I don't care what name it is on what side of the aisle. Release it all. And I don't care how deep it goes. If it crumbles the CIA and everything can be rebuilt if you can rebuild it on truth and transparency.
I wonder how, the pedophile topic is it's sticky. It catches with people. I wonder if it was the minority or the majority of what he was trafficking in. I think that there is an immense amount of probably just prostitution and him providing people that were of age. And there's a whole conversation.
That's what it sounds like.
Well, and there's a whole conversation to have about that, about trafficking, what is consent? Like how much control did they have? And that's
yeah, you're trafficking an 18-year-old girl, but she walked in and said, "I'm willing."
Yeah,
and it's like, but you've got a very powerful 65-year-old guy trafficking her to a 50-year-old billionaire.
And I don't think, honestly, I think the pedophilia aspect of it, I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it was the minority or the majority, because I've heard such outlandish tales either way. My suspicion would be is a lot of powerful people were paying for sex outside of the relationship or marriage that they were in, and that's really inconvenient when that comes out. And guess what? Suck it.
Yeah, and I don't care if it was one or if it was two, but I do believe there is your personal life. If like the guy at the concert the other night, like what that guy does with his time is his business. I don't really give a shit
unless it impacts his employees. You know what I mean? Like there's cascading downstream effects that are odd, given that, because people will react emotionally to that, right?
Yep.
Who knows what will happen with the stock? The families are obviously going to have to deal with their own stuff. Is that going to impact employees? You know what I mean? So there is the personal aspect of it. Public figures are a little bit different.
Especially when public figures are being put in a situation to then say, hey, Andy, we got you on camera the other night with so-and-so. Guess what you're going to do for us?
That's not true. I always wear a Batman mask.
Well,
nobody knows who Batman really is. I mean, clearly it's Bruce Wayne, but who's Bruce Wayne? No one ever asked that question.
Stumpf, I guess.
No.
He also started Black Rifle Coffee.
I did do that. I still to this day tell people that.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they still believe me sometimes.
Well, Evan's too short to start like a real company.
Micro SF. That's what I call him. It's still my favorite image ever of his hand coming up with a check to clear the bail section for Glover as he was fucking Green Beret on Green Beret love. I've said that to both of them directly. They both were dying laughing.
That is hilarious. That is hilarious. No, I think I don't know that I actually believed Trump would do it. I had hope. And I think when you start to lose hope as a citizen in your government at all, like if this Epstein thing goes the way that it seems to be going and there's no transparency, I think it's easy for people to say, fuck it, I'm not voting. I have no hope. I'm just going to ride this bitch to the end. And that's a scary...
maybe that's the goal of those in power, though?
Good chance of it. And you hear people say, like, I'm not going to vote. And I understand the frustration. But I think as a non-veteran, I feel like it's my duty to go vote because I absolutely believe that we had people fight and die for this country, and it's like it's our job to be educated and to go down and have a voice in some form or fashion, even if it's a write-in, whatever that is. That's just my personal belief. I mean, you have the right to not vote. That really bothers me that that people can't even take the time, or they're too lazy to educate themselves on either local politics or national. And I actually really am beginning to believe more and more that local is where you spend your time. But here I am trying to have an impact on the national part of it because I do believe it affects local people.
Well, it 100% does with what you're building down in Missoula.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Instagram because I can just chirp at you and call you a slapdick.
Yeah.
And then here we are sitting down a few days later.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about is real. I mean, you're trying to bring jobs back. You're investing back in the community you live. You agree with, hey, let's bring back this manufacturing capacity. And all of a sudden this machine, which I have, for people who haven't gone and seen your shop, like I don't even understand the machines.
Right.
All I know, like I kind of know what they do, but all I hear when they run is a cash register because I feel like they're super inexpensive, right?
Yeah.
Lasers and robots, and I don't know where those are made, but I bet they're not made in the U.S. And now it's like, hey, Josh, by the way, I'm sure that building you're creating is also extremely cheap. Mm-hmm. How about 50% more for that machine that will help you bring jobs back to the U.S.?
Yeah, and that's. I get the comments like, well, maybe you should just build the machine yourself, or maybe you should buy the machine in the US.
That's the answer. Haven't you thought of just building these CNCs?
A grinding company? Yeah. Yeah.
No, just start from scratch. Just start building a CNC.
Yeah, exactly.
You have a CNC machine. Use it to build another one.
I identify as a computer science major, and I can figure out the technology.
Just
to do
lateral.
that.
You have some of the machines. Use them to make parts so you can continue to make other machines.
Yeah,
I solved this for you.
Okay.
No more knives. Now you just make machines.
Exactly. Well, you built your espresso machine in Black Rifle, didn't you?
I did help take it out of the box.
Yeah. So for people to understand, and maybe the people that don't know what I've been trying to do over the last 5 years, 5 years ago I started this in my garage. I mean, and you remember that. I mean, it was my wife and I was a lineman standing on a power pole during the day, and with this dream of building this company at night. And so that's how it started. And it was during COVID in 2020. Quit my job the January 1st of 2021. And again, we were in my garage at my house for the first couple of years. And then we built what I thought was a big shop at the time, way bigger than what I was in then.
Do you remember what I told you as you were building that?
What's that?
This is not going to be big enough.
Yeah, you were right. But it does show to people that that want to go chase their dreams. Like you don't need to go build the big commercial facility in the beginning. Like I had to step my way into what we're doing today. There was no bank that was going to go loan me $18 million to build a facility.
I think it's inadvisable to actually build the facility before you have the demand.
Well, we weren't sure. We saw a lot of demand, but we weren't sure. Like, is this demand gonna tap out here in 6 months?
Yeah,
is this gonna flame out? And so the idea was, okay, we're gonna build another shop. And frankly, I kind of snuck that one by the county and built a man cave basically that I intended to make knives in, but it worked out. Thankfully, the county didn't really catch on to that one. Now we're in a good spot, but. I built that on my home property. Even today, since that day, we've hired 80 employees, and they're working at my house on my property. I mean, you've landed your helicopter there. I just want to put that across so when people hear me, they're not like, oh, some guy with a big company just bitching about not being able to buy stuff overseas or whatever, or, be able to spend his money overseas. Like, no, I've been preaching from day one. I want to prove everyone wrong and build this knife company and prove you can manufacture in America. That's what I've been preaching about since day one. And I was told it wasn't possible because you can buy $19.99 knives made in China at Walmart, like hunting knives. You can buy those. And so everyone's like, well, how are you going to build a $300 knife and sell it? It's not possible. Well, we've proven that's possible. And we've shown that Americans desire to have American-made products and support an American-made business. And we've also proven there's benefits to spending that money because we will then stand behind you. We will sharpen it. We donate our money to local causes. We raise money for floods, like all the things, right? Mm-hmm. That's what a domestic business does. They support their country and community. So as we grew into that building on our property, we quickly, you proved to be right, we were like, holy shit, we're growing out of this thing.
Like within a year.
Within a year. And so I started hunting for property, started figuring that out, and bought a piece of land there in Missoula. And again, no investors, no outside money. This is just Brandon and I reinvesting dollars back into the company the entire time. The first time that we really went to take a loan was for the building. And the reason for that, frankly, was in the beginning, I didn't want to take any loans because I already just quit a good job. Mm-hmm. And I was afraid I was going to be putting our family in a bind we could never dig out of if I went and borrowed a bunch of money. So we just bootstrapped it. And that's why people were frustrated we didn't have enough knives in the beginning.
They also forget you have to order the steel so far in advance.
Yeah.
That what you make is not something you can lateral in 30 or 60 days and all of a sudden produce more.
No. In fact, just so people understand this process, and this is why we're building this building, and I'll actually explain how we're going to solve this. We just had some blades come in from heat treat last week. I'm just being full disclosure, being super, super honest here. We had blades come in from heat treat last week. Our blades are heat treated somewhere else, and they're ground right now somewhere else, and we're getting into this blade grinder thing. So these blades get laser cut in New York, heat treated in New York, ground in Washington, all right? And then they come to us, and we do all the finishing process. We make the handles, we assemble, we sharpen, we package, we do all that. Okay, so I don't own that whole first part of this supply chain in our company, okay? And that's really from a standpoint of the equipment to do those first three steps, laser, grind, and heat treat, are massively expensive, big equipment to do that.
Is it just huge kilns for the heat treating?
Big kilns, yep. Big kilns that inject liquid nitrogen gas into the kilns for the quenching.
How many times do they heat them? Remember, my knowledge of knives comes from Forged in Fire.
Yeah.
Which
I think you described,
didn't you? Well, you described it as you make your best, worst knife.
Yeah, exactly.
But you see them heat cycling.
Yeah, they'll go through a heat cycling process, and then they'll heat them up to get them into solution to quench, and that's around 2,000 degrees. And then these
stiffens them, right, or hardens it.
It hardens them. Yeah, that's right. And so it makes them more wear resistant to losing their edge, right? And there's this balance between toughness and hardness, and there's a whole bunch of science behind that, which is why it's hard. And you have to be absolutely dialed in that process. If you make a mistake in it, you end up with which is what we got last week, which is bad blades. So we have these.
Bad how? Like brittle?
Too soft. So something happened in the process where they didn't get hardened enough. Well, we test our blades when they come into our shop to ensure we're putting out good blades. We start testing. We have 2,000 blades that aren't hard enough.
What do you do there?
Throw them in the fucking garbage. There is no going back.
Montana Knife Company butter knives.
It's genius.
Let's just create something.
Yeah.
I'm thinking wooden handle, not designed to cut anything. Let's just dull it up.
Yeah.
And say, this is our first few steps into our culinary line. Not chef knife, but we're going to do, spoons, forks, maybe sporks. You never know because you can combine the two. And a butter knife. You should have called me. I've already solved this problem for you. MKC butter knives.
I don't know how you got where you got in life.
I think they would have sold.
Actually, this is how, by solving problems.
Yeah, I just
being
make
creative.
shit up. Yeah, I mean, I feel like your guys' brand is so strong, you could have sold butter knives.
Probably could.
And you know what? If you would have actually just said, hey, these were supposed to be this, but they're too soft, so if you want to buy this, don't you dare try to do anything with this other than spread jam on toast, it would have sold out.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. I'm not putting out an inferior product.
Well, all right.
Because somebody will go right on eBay and sell it for full price.
Just tell me where you put them. Michael and I will start a side business. We'll call it Kalispell Knife Company, KKC. No, that's way too close to other things that have negative connotations.
You're gonna launder these blades.
We'll do Flathead Valley Knife Company, specializing in butter knives.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, no, we get these blades in. We start doing our testing, and they're bad. They're already
so they just bend.
They're ground. No, I mean that's the thing. They're partially hard. There's a joke there.
Heard that before. Yeah. We
You
call
know
that
what
a
that's
snuffleupagus.
Yeah. So we got a little partial hardness going on where, you wouldn't be able to tell as a customer. But where you would tell is when you start using it and you lose your edge super fast.
Just dull super fast.
Yeah. No wear resistance. So
butter doesn't require a
it's
very
true.
sharp edge.
It's not very abrasive.
Don't throw these away yet. I feel like we have a new vertical.
Unless you freeze your butter, then
at least talk to Brandon. Let's be honest. He's the brains behind the operation. He
Brandon's-
may, in fact,
Brandon will market the shit out of them butter knives.
I'm telling you that they might be one of
Yeah.
your fastest releases.
Better butter knives.
Let's try this. We'll split it 60-30.
So,
I get the 60, you get the 30, 10%. Nobody knows where that goes.
Michael.
Marketing, nobody knows.
Yeah.
Maybe for the second batch of butter knives.
Knives. There you go. Just cut out the heat treat process altogether.
What blade was it?
Mini goats or speed goats?
Oh, those aren't big enough to be butter
Trying
knives.
to remember. Yeah, no, they're a little.
Speed goat would be. Mini goat would
pointy
be.
little butter knives.
That'd be tough. Yeah.
So here's the point with all of this stuff. So we test all these blades and we lose several $100,000 in sales by those things going in the garbage.
Who eats that cost though?
We do. And
Whoa. What about the heat treater?
yeah, it's kind of funny. There's not real guaranteed contracts in that stuff, which is
They don't
interesting.
quality control their stuff?
Well, they're supposed to.
I feel like there's a conversation there.
Yeah, no, we're having it. But there's
Do you
not.
need
But
a
there's
consultant?
not. There's not. There's not probably going to be a check written there. It's more of a. We're now making sure we're doing some more QCing even for them in that before those blades get ground and go down the process before we get them and it's too late.
I'm ready to consult with you in this process.
Yeah, the point of all this is. This stuff is all really big process stuff that has to happen outside of our shop. And I've heard some of the hate of like, well, these guys don't even make the whole entire process in their shop. And it's like, man, when you start a business in your garage, you don't do everything right off the bat. Like, this was a building process from day one. And I've been trying to prove that you can do this without selling out to conglomerates and, bringing in, multimillionaires to build the whole process right off. And no one would. You wouldn't go spend $25-30 million to build a knife company before you've proven that you have the demand, in the support. So
Yeah. Not with the backgrounds we have. Maybe if you grow up fantastically wealthy with generational wealth, you could invest that.
no businessman is going to put that money into a company until it proves it can sell. Now we could get that investment today with what we've proven, but now it's more of like, yeah, I could get that investment. I want to keep proving we can do it ourselves. We've had those conversations. I don't like where that stuff goes. I want to prove that we can do it, and we are. So the point with this is all right, here's this situation, right? We're making handles in our shop, we're assembling, we're sharpening, we're doing all that, but we're missing these first few pieces. But it's several $1 million worth of equipment to finish that step of bringing American manufacturing soup to nuts in. And here's my point with those blades. You talked about supply chain length. Those blades were heat treated last September.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we're talking 10 months.
Yeah.
Until those blades got to our shop for us to finish. That's how long this process. So when people say, why don't you release more knives? Why haven't you done this, that? Well, when I react today to an event that happens, if I do a drop and it's like, holy cow, that new knife we launched is the most popular thing on the planet. Let's make more.
18 months from now.
Yeah. 10, 11 months later, we're showing the reaction to that, right? Yeah. And that's what it's been. And trust me, when people come on and they email customer service or they comment and they're like, "Why the fuck, you guys are a joke, whatever." It's like, do you think I don't want your money? Like, do you think I don't want to make more knives? Like, we're trying. But I've been absolutely against, to probably my own detriment, bringing on the investment to ramp that up like fast, right? I wanted to do it all on our own, and that's what we've been doing. And so here we are this last summer, this last entire 10 months, we've been building this new manufacturing facility that will make all this possible, right? It's 51,000 square feet. We can bring every process in-house, and we are about 3 months away from that building being complete, maybe 4 tops. And so we're in that time period right now where it's like, all right, we got to start ordering equipment and hiring people to run this stuff to put into this building.
Yep.
I got to remind you, this is stuff I've never done before. I've never owned laser cutting machines, heat treating machines, these big blade grinding machines, right? This mass finish stuff that we have to have. I've never done any of this. But I'd also never done any of the stuff I've done in the last 4 years. It's totally different than a custom knife. So I just have the confidence, like, I have really good people. I find smart people, and we'll figure it the hell out. That's been my attitude from the beginning, and it's worked. So here we are. We're getting ready to order this equipment. We're having all these conversations. We start discussing price and find out this blade grinding machine, for example, is basically $500,000. It'll be right at $500,000, probably a little more once it's installed. So $500,000. Oh, there's a 37% tariff on it right now, but depending on what happens with some of these things going on with the EU and what Trump's saying, it could be a 50% tariff August 1st in 12 days.
That's a big hike.
On a $500,000 grinder. Now, people's instant reaction on my Instagram post is, well, just buy it in America, dude. Like, you're bitching about buying things overseas. These machines, there's about 12 per year built and sent to America and bought in America. They're highly specialized. They're massive machines. There is not like an industry, quote unquote.
Yeah, there's no Napa Auto Parts for what you're doing.
No, and there's not even the demand for it, because the only people who are installing these machines are major manufacturers of maybe scissors, blades that might go like lawnmower blades, stuff for farm implements, knives.
When are you guys going to make scissors? Now I'm interested.
I'm very interested in that. But
kitchen shears, perhaps?
Yeah. No, it's all possible with this machine. The point is, how often do you hear of scissor manufacturers being built in America right now, or farm implement manufacturers or whatever? It's real small. So like I say, about 12 machines a year are shipped to America. There's 2 companies that build these machines, and they're both in Germany. They invented this machine process, and they supply essentially the world these bevel grinding machines, and they only make a few dozen a year for the world. So it's a very specialized industry machine. My point is, and my frustration with Trump's policies, well, let's talk about tariffs for a second here. I'm going to preface this all by saying I'm not an economist. I can't argue if tariffs are a good thing or a bad thing, right? Some people are going to say it's a form of tax. Mm-hmm. It's a terrible idea. Government, we need less tax, whatever. You should have free trade, or whatever you want to say. Other people like Trump are going to say, hey, it makes us more competitive with the cheap labor overseas and all that. And I tend to, during the election and even today, fall on that side with Trump of like, hey man, like, let's take knives, for example. There's American-made knife companies here already that are making knives and trying to sell them. But we have $19 knives coming in from China. That's a major competitive disadvantage. When I was at the Atlanta Blade Show in June, of major manufacturers, I think I only saw 3 in that entire show. Everything else is being made by a couple knife companies in China. We Knives. I mean, they hit me on LinkedIn all the freaking time. We'll make your knives. We'll make your knives. I'm like, piss off. You're not doing that. But all these small knife manufacturers you see popping up, and most of these small knife makers trying to scale their businesses, all are using a company like that. It's called We Knives. My point is, if you want to tariff finished goods like knives, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm biased on knives. Well, let's talk about cars. If you want to tariff cars being made in China or somewhere else, we have American car manufacturers. I could see the argument that makes a more even playing field for our American car manufacturers. I can also see the argument on the other side, and this is why I'm not smart enough to figure out what the right answer is, that, you know, hey, it's driving up the cost for the American consumer. They need a cheap car to drive or to buy, or they need a cheap knife. So again, I'm not the one really in a position to decide that. What I'm saying in our situation is I'm trying to build American manufacturing. I am doing exactly what Donald Trump wants to be done. Bootstrapping it from start to finish, from a garage to a major manufacturing facility. When we build this building, we'll probably hire another 100 people, 150 people over the next 5 years. That's going to be a 200 to 250 person building.
How big is the one at your property now? The new one you built?
The one on my property at my house right now is just under 10,000 square feet.
Okay, so 5x the size of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and way more usable in regards to like bodies and manufacturing space. I would argue it's gonna much more than 5x our potential.
Let's also not forget the most important feature and aspect of your new building.
It's a coffee shop.
That's right.
Yeah. Black Rifle, Missoula.
Black Rifle, Missoula? I'm changing our name to Black Rifle, Montana, just to piss you guys off. Then I'll sue you.
I already did it.
Yeah.
No. But
here's the tariff one is an interesting one. Also, not an economist for people who didn't realize that already. I've done a bunch of episodes though for change agents with economists, and there was an interesting stat that was brought up. What's not helping, whether you land on the tariffs are good or tariffs are bad, is the fact that these decisions are like flip-flopping as if they're in the wind. I did an episode a few weeks ago, I think it just released on the Ironclad side, 146 different tariff decisions since Trump has been in office. It's probably closer to 200 at this point. Unless he is trying to sow or make people feel unstable, and maybe there's an argument for that so it can be resettled, that's kind of more of what it's doing, is making people really unsure of what the hell is going on.
So I'm glad you bring that up, because to your point, maybe it's the art of the deal, right? Maybe it's maybe it's a genius, and I hope it is.
Maybe it's not.
Maybe it's not. What I'll say as I guess now sitting here, big business owner, right? We're a pretty large business. We're doing a fair amount in revenue, and we have a bunch of employees, and we're growing. What it does is it provides a lot of uncertainty, and uncertainty doesn't allow you to plan, right? And so here I am with this big building, right, that's empty. I could, to fill this building with all the equipment that I feel like we're going to need over the next 7 years, it'll probably be around $18 million worth of equiment.
Dude, just write a check.
And that's in the next, say, decade, right? But we're obviously not.
Just write a check.
Yeah, well, I can easily write a check. It just might bounce like a ball. What I'm saying is that's projecting, like, if things were to just continue growing for a decade, right? So now we have to look, and we're after, like, well, let's plan on this next year or two, right? And we have to anticipate, and this is where with the economy, you also have to look at the overall economy and, like, do we think we're headed up? Are we headed down? What's the consumer going to do? Are they going to have extra money to spend on knives? You could argue, do they really need a knife? If times are tough, what are they going to cut out of their budget? Same with your business. Like, if times are tough, are they going to stop for that cup of coffee on Thursday?
Yes.
Maybe they're just going to...
What you'll find is it's awesome to sell an addictive product.
Yeah.
Coffee sales are coffee sales, man.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to make our knives be an addictive product. But the point is...
Coffee's at a price point that impacts people's wallet a lot differently than a consumable like a $300 knife.
It does.
It's honestly one, you could raise the price of coffee 1.5 times. Not that I have any intention of doing this, and people may not think twice about it. You raise your product price 1.5 times, right, you're going to have some backblast.
Yeah. No, and that's why you see companies do the pricing the way they do it. It's like, well, it's $299.99. Well, it's not $300,
Yeah.
But the minute you're like, well, wait, it's $325. Oof, well, it's not that much more money. But the uncertainty really is an issue. And actually, we're in this with this grinder, right? So if we ordered this grinder and it's a 37, or let's say we think it's about to go to a 50% tariff, we order it, and 2 months later, Trump says, oh, these guys in Germany are our best friends now. We're back to 5% tariff. Well, we just blew 33 extra percent or 32 extra percent on tariffs that we didn't need to blow just because they're going back and forth, you know, like a pendulum. And and so then it makes you go, well, let's just wait because, you know, it's Trump. He's going to, you know, in 6 months, these guys are going to be best friends. He's going to have it solved. So we're not going to spend the money. Okay, well, that now means we're not going to spend that money. We're going to wait. We're not going to hire those jobs. We're also not going to be able to produce those knives. We're not going to need those sheaths that we buy from Idaho that are made down there from all those people. So it does have a major downstream effect. And my point with manufacturing equipment and with these tariffs, let's just assume tariffs are a great idea and we should do them. I don't understand why Trump's policies would create conditions that make it harder to build American manufacturing. Now, again, with nuance, the laser cutting machine is made in America. I can also buy it from Taiwan. Okay. Now there's a great argument for punishing me for buying that machine from Taiwan.
Which one's cheaper?
The one from Taiwan.
Really? Even with shipping?
Yep. We are buying the one from Made in America. We're buying an IPG cube laser. So
does it sound like a bald eagle when you turn it on? Is that the difference?
Maybe I'll put a speaker on it, at least make it sound like that.
Did you know, fun fact from Leah, that the bald eagle noise that they use every time on TV and movies is not the sound of a bald eagle?
Really? Is it a hawk or something?
Yes.
Is it really?
Apparently bald eagles sound like shit.
I mean, a red-tailed hawk has a cool sound. It's probably what it is.
No, I think that is exactly what it is. She hit me with that one not too long. I'm like, come on. She worked up in Alaska a bunch.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, that's not what they sound like.
Well, red-tailed hawks sound cool, so I bet that's what it is.
Just so people know. I'm just saying. Man. How American are we?
That we need to open an investigation into that too. Epstein and eagle noises.
I feel like we can combine those two.
So, you know, when I you know, people who when I put a post up like that, or when I bitch like this, and I'm bitching straight at the Trump administration about this, like, what the fuck are you guys doing? This is stupid. I get the right going, well, dummy, just buy it in America. Okay, well, you don't understand. Okay. And they say, well, the point is, if he does this over the next few years, they are going to be made in America. And you might argue that for some things.
I don't know if I would say in the next few years. People don't understand what it would take. First off, the machines don't exist. The talent doesn't exist. The facility to make that doesn't exist. You need to get all of those things, train them, and start. Like, we're talking probably closer to a decade.
Well, so I want to dive into that on the material side, because with tariffs, there's three things. There's finished good, there's the materials to make a finished good, and there's the equipment used to use the materials to make the finished good, right? There's three parts of tariffs that I believe that's where the nuance should come in. And I think we are in phase one of bringing American manufacturing back. So in phase one, it's finished goods. Like, that's to me where they should be targeting. And then if you want to have some arguments about, like, hey, this finished good is not available in America, and we don't want to tax essentially the citizens too much, we're gonna put a lower tariff on it, and we're gonna start to ramp that up over the next 3 years, because by the end of 3 years, that finished good should be made in America if we do it right. And the government could even invest some money into that. And I have an example of that. But what I get on the right and the left is I get the guy who's saying, you know, well, yeah, dummy, just buy whatever. Or I get the guy on the left that's like, well, you got what you wished for. You were a Trump supporter.
The classic statement, right? This is what you voted for.
And I'm saying in the middle here, I'm trying to actually solve the problem of bringing American manufacturing back. On the material side, let's talk about that, if you don't mind, for a second. So when tariffs first came out, I even made kind of a funny post where I'm like, you know, I kind of announced, like, we're going to need to raise prices, blah, 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 with all these tariffs on all this materials. And then, you know, my guy interrupts me in the background and he's like, hey, we don't get anything overseas. I'm like, oh, never mind. Yeah. We're good. Right? Carry on. We're not raising prices.
Thank you for your attention to this matter.
With materials, I think it's somewhat similar. And we are actually in an interesting spot here. And this is, again, where I'd love to talk to the government. The steel industry. How do we bring the steel industry back to America? And I think most of us would agree, even from a national security standpoint, that we should have ample ability to produce any amount of steel that we need. And maybe it's not all of it, but we should be producing steel, not losing steel industry jobs. And you look at what it's done to like Western Pennsylvania, to all of Pennsylvania, New York, upstate New York, what it's done to their economy with losing the steel industry in the last 50 years. It's been very impactful. Right?
How much capacity remains?
Well, in the knife industry, with the steel that we now use, and this is what I wanted to get to, zero. So,
like not a single producer.
Unfortunately, and the timing on this was very unfortunate because I actually looked into this and I felt like had this happened 8 months later with my connections maybe to Trump and whatnot, we might have been able to figure something out. Crucible Steel Technologies for the last 40 years has made knife steel in America. And they had a certain technology. It's a powdered metal technology where they atomize steel, they turn it into powder, and then they produce billets of steel, and then it gets rolled out into sheet stock. Well, they've been struggling bad for 30 years. So much so that there is a clip, should try to find it, there is a clip of Harry Reid, Democrat, talking like he's Donald Trump 20 years ago from Crucible Steel Technologies saying, if we don't change what's happening with our trade situation here, we're going to start losing companies like Crucible Steel Technology in my home state, blah, 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 blah. He sounds like Donald Trump standing there, and it was about China and the steel industry.
And then that's, I'm assuming, exactly what happened.
That's exactly what happened. Actually, in between that time and now, Crucible went bankrupt twice, emerged from it, kept going. And in January this year, well, late last year, they went bankrupt for a third time. And in January, right around the inauguration, they got bought out of bankruptcy by Aerosteel out of Sweden. Okay, well, what did Aerosteel do? Did they buy it and just keep running it and, you know, say, well, now we have American supply of steel? No, they bought it. They bought basically a dilapidated steel mill because Crucible was struggling so bad. They lacked in any kind of maintenance, upkeep, technologies, whatever of their steel mill. They were barely getting by. So now you buy this dilapidated steel mill. They shuttered it. They get rid of everyone, and they bought the IP. So they bought the patents, and they bought the technology of the powder, and they took it back to Sweden. And so which
is where people are going to be forced to buy from anyway.
There's no more powder technology steel in America, which means any knife company in America using stainless steel in a powder technology form, which is superior, and this gets into the question that we now are up against as a company. And this is Benchmade, this is Spyderco, this is Buck. It doesn't matter who your favorite knife company is, it's all of us. You now have a decision to make. We're going to buy our steel from Sweden because it's the best steel. It was actually this CPM Magna Cut steel that we use was invented by Laren Thomas, a metallurgist here in America. They went and had Crucible make it. Crucible owned all the patents and whatever on it. Some bad business stuff that they did there. But anyway, they lost it to Sweden. So it's an American invented steel that's now in Sweden. My point with this is we have a decision as a company, and so do a lot of other knife manufacturers. Do you use the best steel available to make the best product possible for your customer, right? Which would be a Swedish steel. Or do you use more of a flat strip steel that's been widely common available for decades in America, but is a far inferior product at the end of the day. So I'm going to sell you a knife. The edge, you're going to lose the edge much faster.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as good a tool. Or, you know, am I going to send you down range with a tactical knife or whatever from a steel that's not as tough? It's more breakable. That's the thing with Magna Cuts. It's the toughest stainless steel on the market, period. Or am I going to buy Swedish steel? And I would argue, I don't think people really give a shit if the steel's made in Sweden. It's not like Sweden's China, right? I think China, Taiwan, some of these countries, people care a little more about. And I'd argue even this blade grinding machine that's made in Germany.
This episode is brought to you by Element. If you follow the show, you know that I've been talking about these guys for a while. I've known Rob Wolf for well over a decade. We started our career together, if you will. My words, not necessarily his. Back when we were working in the CrossFit days. Moved up to Montana, ended up in the same place doing jiu-jitsu, and he is the one who exposed me to Element, which makes sense given that he is a co-founder. There's a couple ways you can get this stuff. So I have two of them in front of me here. You can get this big box right here, and I'll open this thing up. This is what they come in, these individual packs. I have heard, depending on the person and how much you need electrolytes, the dosage can vary. One thing I'll say about this, if you take too much sodium, potassium, magnesium, too many of these things, be cautious with how far away you get from a bathroom. So start slow. But in every one of these, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium. This particular flavor I'm holding is the watermelon salt. This used to be my favorite. Then they came out this summer with lemonade, and that is my absolute go-to. Every morning I have been starting it with a 12 to 16 ounce glass of water, half of one of those, some collagen peptides, and that's how I start off my day. Every day after jiu-jitsu, it's a minimum of one of these things, and like I've said before, it's like feeling it course back through your veins. It's like, for those, this will date me here, but the first Tron movie where you see them dipping their little discs in the water and you drink it and they start glowing again, that's kind of what it feels like. So there's another way you can get it though, and that is in these bubbly waters right here. Sparkling electrolyte water. Same thing. 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium. Here's what's wild. I own a coffee shop. We order boxes of both of these things every single week because we can't keep them in stock. These things are flying out the door. Head over to drinklmnt.com/clearedhot. You're going to get a free LMNT sample pack with any purchase. And also don't forget to try the new Element Sparkling. Like I said, right in front of me, 16-ounce can of sparkling electrolyte water. Love having these things in the fridge. Grab them right after class, slam the thing, drink them during a podcast. Delicious, convenient, and I actually oftentimes will cut it with even more water to increase my hydration. Drink, normal spelling, LMNT, Lima Mike, November Tango.com/clearedhot. It'll be right down in the show notes. Check it out. Up your electrolyte game, and I'm going to say with that, up your recovery and preparation for your next hard effort game as well. Back to the show.
I would argue there are certain times it's okay to trade with our allies to keep also their economy strong. There is such a thing as the back and forth, which helps them remain strong as a country as well, which gives us, good allies and stable governments and countries around the world that we trade with, right?
Yeah, I don't think an isolationist approach in the long term, like a true isolationist approach, benefits America.
Agreed. And so here we are today, and this, I'll give you an example. So now there is a 36% tariff on steel that we're buying. Given that tariff, if we, from April of 24 to April of 25, had we had that tariff on our steel, we would pay them an extra $608,000 in expense for that steel. Okay, so when you look at that, with a company our size, that $608,000 is a big deal.
That's
Especially
your grinding machine.
That exactly. Or that's several employees' salaries, at least 6, if not 8 or 10, right? It's people. So now you have a choice as a company. Do you pass that $608,000 in the next 12 months? And it'll actually be more. We're growing. It'll probably be closer to $1 million in tariff money. Do you pass that on to the customer? Do you just eat it as a company? Right now, our plan is just to eat that. We're not going to raise our prices because I actually believe, like we just talked about, planning, Trump will wake up one day and be best friends with the president of Sweden, or he'll figure out shit with the EU or whatever. I don't want to do with that with my prices, right? And it's the only now material that we use in our knives that won't be American, because all of our handle material, we're even making our own screws. Anything we source is all American made. We actually have enough American-made steel left from before the company was bankrupt. They were still producing. We bought a bunch this spring, so we actually have enough steel to get all the way through the first quarter of 26.
Where do you guys store that stuff?
At our laser cutting facility.
Just ship it to them and have them hold it for you?
It'll be shipped at our building when our lasers arrive. But here's the point with planning, right? It sounds great. Oh, you got enough steel to last through the first quarter of next year. Well, we're buying our steel now for second and third quarter. You start planning and you start going, well, how much of that 36% tariff steel do we really want to buy?
Yeah.
Do we get real short on it? We want to plan for growth, which is what we've been doing. We've been overbuying steel and then outrunning our projections, but at least we still have steel to make the knives. If you don't have steel, you can't make the product, right? And there again, the point is with this is to this tiered approach. Tier 1, tariff finished goods. Tier 2, materials. Well, hey, let's look at this as a government and realize like, okay, we're going to start taking the tariff money from tier 1, and maybe the government is going to talk to some steel mills that are in the U.S. or some professionals or back to the Crucible type people and say, hey, we're going to subsidize bringing steel mills back to America. Maybe the government's even going to invest that tariff money into actually doing what the goal is. And maybe it's a private-public partnership. If it becomes profitable, the government gets paid back. There's ways that I think the government could help actually bring that back and say, we're not going to beat you up for buying Swedish steel for the next 5 years, because at the end of the day, it's the government's fucking fault that shit went away. Harry Reid and Republicans and Democrats all alike for 30 years have been talking about losing the steel industry. We've now lost it, and then you're going to turn around and tariff us. And it is a form of tax on Americans. Like if we decide to raise that price, the customer's going to pick up the cost. Right?
You know what sucks about that even more? The government has demonstrably proven that they're a poor steward of our money.
Yes.
And we're just giving them more.
And that's my issue with the tariffs. Okay, if you're going to tariff, is it just going in the general fund? And are we just shipping shit to Ukraine?
Also, why did we just add $5 trillion to our $36.1 trillion debt?
The big, beautiful bill. Yeah.
Wasn't that the opposite of what was run upon?
Yeah. And there again, but you're a traitor if you say that, just because maybe you voted for the right. And it's like, no, actually, how about I'm actually just holding you accountable for what you said you were going to do?
I mean, if we can't even, as a country, balance out our budget. Do you know when the last time the Department of Defense passed an audit was? Nevuary.
Yeah.
So,
and there again, I was okay. I would have been okay with Trump saying, I'm just going to veto shit till you send me a balanced budget. And yeah, we're shutting down the government, and it's going to create a lot of hardship for people for a while.
I saw a video the other day, and I wish I could say the name of who it was from, but it was an older one. And the guy essentially said, yeah, I can fix the deficit right now. Anytime we have more than a 3% deficit, every sitting member of Congress, an elected official, is no longer eligible for re-election.
Yeah, exactly.
But instead, we have clearly shown, like if you ran your family's finances like we do as a country,
right,
you're on the street.
You're living in a box. Yeah.
But we keep giving money to our government.
Yeah.
I have a problem with that.
Yeah. And I don't want to sound like I'm not really complaining that much about the material thing. Like it does. I think
your approach makes sense. I would say you could also apply that to immigration. Tren de Aragua,
right,
has, the last time I did a podcast on this, 16 states that they have influence in. I would like to see those people taken out of this country before
the farmer who is, people don't understand the cascading downstream effects that can have if the agricultural market in California no longer has people to work there. And this is not me making an argument for illegal immigration, which I don't support in any way, shape, or form. But if the Stump family in California owns apples and they need them picked and they can't get them picked, like there is an argument and a discussion to be had around that. But I would agree. I don't think that apple picker guy is the guy that we all voted for as far as like, you know, with Trump of like, we need to get these illegals out.
Montana is one of the 16 states.
That what?
Has Tren de Aragua influence.
Oh.
Bozeman.
Really?
It's known. How about, let's start there.
Yeah.
How about the apartment complex in Colorado that the government tried to say wasn't controlled by Tren de Aragua, and there's this dude's rocking rifles and like, it's like, I don't want to tell people.
There's nuance to these things. And it's, like you say, it's taken a scalpel to it. And again, I don't have as big a problem with the steel thing because I have the choice to use other steel made in America, but I'm not willing to make a product that's inferior to my competitor because he's using Swedish steel. Like, and I think our customer will get that. And if you don't, and you want to buy 100% American everything, that's fine. And I'm sure there's going to be those knives available. But my thing is why with our country, are we not making the best steel in the world? And you could argue this with other manufacturers. Like I got a bunch of comments back to me on a different post that I'd done on the material thing, and it's like brass for bullet manufacturing, right? Well, if we're not making brass in America, and bullet manufacturers are now paying a 50% tariff on that, how much is it going to cost you to go shooting on the weekend?
No, that'll be back to COVID prices.
And again, from a national defense standpoint, why aren't we making our own brass in America, right? Why aren't we making our own steel or enough of it? And again, I think back to this decision of like, wait, are you choosing to buy screws from China because they're cheaper and they're screw manufacturers in America? Yeah, we're going to tariff the shit out of you for that. Like, okay. That makes sense. Like, that's fair. But wait, you're choosing to buy steel or brass or the apparel industry is a real similar situation here, where a lot of the most technical apparel that you can possibly buy, with the heat transferring,
it's coming out of Vietnam.
The drying, all those technologies are coming out of Vietnam. And some other countries, and places like Gore are making that stuff over there, and a lot of it is around chemicals. And this is a conversation we need to have as Americans. Some of these. Well, let's even talk about steel for a second. Do you want a steel mill in your backyard? Like, there has to be that discussion. Like, you want steel made in America? I do. But do you really want it in your town? Is it done clean? Some of those situations, discussions. But with materials especially, a lot of that manufacturing process is dirty. And it's like, well, maybe there's certain things that we just don't actually want to do in America. Do we have enough labor to sew, billions of garments a year? Well, no, but China does. Like, it's an unfortunate discussion that we sometimes have to have, is like, we as Americans, do you really want to put iPhones together, or do you just want to buy your own iPhone from overseas,
Yeah.
So it's nuanced. And I think the finished good thing is a really good place to start. And there again, I would love to see that money all going into a bucket. And if that bucket was going to solve steel, if it was going to solve brass, if it was going to solve apparel, cool. Like, that would make me feel better about spending an extra 150 or 200 grand on a blade grind machine if I actually thought that money was going to get used and not shipped overseas.
It's an interesting time, man. I feel like the next few weeks will be pretty telling as far as the trajectory of the administration.
Yeah.
There is some pressure.
It's a bumpy road at the moment.
Yes.
Yeah, they're on some washboard roads here.
And let's be honest, it's their own doing.
It is, and
that's not wrong or right.
And I'm actually, though I might sound like I'm bitching, I'm actually trying to be a bit of a solution. Like, I texted Tulsi, and we're going to maybe try to talk this weekend. And I feel bad. I've never asked anything of any of these people I do know. I did call Trump Jr. about this, and Jr. was like, I'll try to connect you to some people, but he said, I'm not involved in the administration, really. Like, I was a lot more involved in the first one, and I don't think it was that enjoyable, and he's not that involved. And for people who do comment and send me a message, well, how about your boy? You stayed at your house, your friends. How many people do you think, and it's why I haven't called Junior until now, how many people of any policy that Trump's doing are affecting someone Trump Jr. might know, and you're calling him, and it's like, fuck, man, my dad's the president. Yeah. I can't solve everybody's problems.
Be ringing off the hook 24/7.
Be ringing off the hooks. And I do not hold, Trump Jr. Again, it flows to the top. It's Trump Sr. I am looking for some connections in the administration to help solve some of these problems, to accomplish the goal of climbing that American manufacturing mountain,
Do you think he's using the knife set that you gave him in the White House?
I'm pretty sure Trump chops all his own vegetables.
I don't think Trump or any president is allowed around knives.
I think with his new vein thing, he's probably on some Coumadin. I hope he's not using.
What is Coumadin?
Knives. It's a blood thinning, like if you have heart attack.
I didn't read the article. I saw something about that.
You nick yourself, you're going to bleed for days.
Well, there's pictures of his ankles. What are people complaining about? That he has a...
Well, he's got some vein issue where you know, older people, they
die.
Their circulation, yeah, it's the beginning of death. The circulation in your veins, in your legs, and in your extremities starts to become troubled.
Chronic venous insufficiency, a minor vein condition after noticing swelling in his legs. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's old. I think he's in phenomenal shape.
Yeah, he's older than my dad, and I'll be honest with you, my dad's barely keeping it together.
And you look at the election cycle, and it blew me away that guy's energy to be able to do what he did. You know, the speeches, the lack of sleep, the air travel. I don't care if it's on a private jet. You're freaking going up and down and doing all that shit. I mean, I think the guy's incredibly impressive, especially living on Big Macs and freaking Coke or whatever he drinks.
Yeah, I was going to say you're talking about the beverage, not the Colombian marching powder.
Yeah.
No, he's a year older than my dad. Michael, I have another one for you. We did a few stories from my dad just yesterday.
Okay.
In the time that I went home since yesterday's episode.
Got some more, huh?
Went out to the house, and the first thing Leah says is, "You're not going to believe what happened." And of course, my response is, "Well, tell me more." My dad has a dog. His name is Buster, Black Lab. Fantastic dog. They're water animals. My dad and my sister's in town with her husband and my niece and nephew, all staying out at our lake house, and they go down to the dock where people can put boats in. There is a man sitting down fishing on the end of the dock. So what does my dad do? He gets the tennis ball that Buster wants to chase. And the way the story was told to me was basically threw it and hit the man with the tennis ball, which Buster is right behind it.
Yeah, Buster has a job to do.
Almost barreled the man over, couldn't find the tennis ball, so bit his fishing bobber instead.
Oh, my God.
Got tangled up in the lines. Like, there was little blood drops. Buster's lip was cut from when he bit it. And I'm looking at the house, and there's just a little blood drop here and a little blood drop there. And I look at my dad, and I'm like, "Dad, man, what are you doing?" What's his response? "Oh, word sure travels fast, man. I can't get away with anything." No explanation.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you can't, because several people were watching what happened. And my dad says, "Oh, the ball slipped out of my hand."
Yeah. Yeah, he should be a president.
Yeah. Oh, it was Buster. I'm like, you're not blaming this on the dog.
Yeah.
You threw his favorite toy. He is a heat-seeking missile. He was apparently under the dock looking for it, wrapped in fishing line. Yeah. And the guy, reasonably not super stoked.
Not super happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I come back and,
I hope he's a listener.
Oh, yeah, for
That'd be
sure.
Awesome.
Oh, no, I told him today's episode that we put out was just 2 stories from my dad. My dad was trying to tell us at dinner the other night he was 86. He was trying to guess the age of one of his friends. He's like, "Well, he's probably 86 because I'm 2 years older than him." I'm like, "Dad, how old are you?" He's like, 86. I'm like, "You're 100% not 86.
How old is he?
78. 100% not. And then, we started talking about
this might be a whole nother topic of why I think there needs to be an age maximum on presidents.
Oh, I think we talked about this during the run up to this. I don't think the maximum combined age should be able to be over 100.
Of the two,
yes,
the two run, yeah.
Because I think it was at 272 with the last 2 kids.
Was it really? Yeah.
No, I mean, clearly that's an exaggeration.
But it's probably it's 150 or 60.
I do worry about our system, though. All joking aside, if those were the 2 candidates were the best that we had available at that age, and we don't have anybody younger in life that could be a better representative. If that is what our 2 systems, well, and an argument can be made about the left, it's like you guys skipped a few steps there along the way, especially when you put Harris in.
Yeah.
Which your base, I hope, is taking a very hard look at and making sure that never happens again.
Which they're not.
Sure. Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But if that's what the apex of those 2 systems created, man, we have got some problems.
I was very impressed with JD, and I was actually unsure about him in the beginning, but he's in an interesting spot because he has to support the top.
If he wants to have runway for himself, yes.
Yeah, because Trump has proven that he'll also write you off real fast. But some of this, at some point when the election cycle begins in about a year, JD's going to have to answer for
Yes.
a lot of this. And
As Harris was
I
being asked to
guarantee
answer for a lot of Biden's.
JD's talking about it today. Like, how am I going to navigate all this Epstein and all this stuff? But I think JD is brilliant. I think he's really, and his approval rating is really, really high. But it's easy to have a high approval rating when you don't have to stand up there and answer questions. That's going to be a tough one to navigate.
It gets tough. I mean, the questions that she was getting grilled with are legitimate. How involved were you with these decisions? How much do you personally support these decisions?
Right.
Those are not easy
and
answers.
in the campaign, he's going to probably have to break from Trump on some things, and it's going to be interesting to see if Trump then torpedoes him or not.
Which is wild because loyalty is a two-way street.
It is.
Supposed to be, at least, not a one-way street.
Yeah, and that's what's so you talked about it earlier. That's where, as a conservative, I was so excited about with Trump going in, and I thought taking a wrecking ball to government and then trying to patch it up best as we can and rebuild during the Trump presidency. But if it's really, really going well in 4 years and then you stack 8 more on with JD, I really thought we were in this for a 12-year run. Mm-hmm. With what's happening now, I guess at the end of the day, what really bothers me so much about all this stuff happening is the results of it may mean the pendulum goes back the wrong direction in just 4 years.
Well, I've thought about that too, and that I actually think would put us in a worse place because it takes time to both break and to fix. Mm-hmm. And you'll find yourself, like even your business, and let's say 3.5 years from now, you're still building out and you're still planning on all of these things, and the policies that you were planning on, whatever it may be, the opposite approach is taken just because that's what the other side wants to say is we're going to take the opposite. That puts you in an even worse position.
Right.
And the country as well. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's an interesting time. Also not an expert on politics.
It's an interesting time. I still believe in our country, and I believe in our citizens, and I think it's the greatest country on earth. I think we'll get through it. That's the part, like, as negative as it's easy to talk about the things that bother you and things that are pissing you off, but as negative as we can be, you look at what I built in just 5 years. It's the American dream is still real. I'm not somebody that's special or any of that stuff. Like, I had a dream and worked hard for it and am in the process of accomplishing it. Still a long road to go, but it's also incumbent upon us as citizens to hold our government accountable, and that whether that's left or right.
By what mechanism? I mean, legitimately, how can we hold the government accountable? I think you should stop paying your taxes.
I'm with you.
I would like you to test this. I'll watch from a distance and argue against what you're doing, but quietly support you.
But what if every single conservative in the country one day just said, this April 15th, we're done. We're not paying taxes. I mean, en masse.
Well, I also think you'd get a large portion of the other side of the aisle because I don't think taxes are really anybody's favorite.
Right.
So I think you might get a little bit of bleed over. There's a Venn diagram overlap.
Yeah. So let's say we get 50% of the left and 80% of the right that just say, you know what?
I don't know. What
do
you think would happen?
and is a guy like an Elon Musk powerful enough with enough voice to arrange something like that and say, we're going to boycott our own government until you balance a budget?
Oh, boy. That would be wild times in the U.S.
Yeah.
I wonder what the government response to an initiative like that, I wonder what their response would be.
They would have to balance the budget. You can't go arrest 180 million Americans. You can't send the IRS after all of them.
I really hope it doesn't.
Because I believe if you really actually wanted to challenge legally with enough power behind it, it's your job as the government to provide some form of clarity on what you're doing with our tax money. And if you can't, I shouldn't have to pay it.
I don't know if that's codified anywhere, but I appreciate the headspace.
Well, it'd be fun to try. Yeah.
The budget thing kills me. It absolutely kills me. They make it sound like it's not possible.
And even with what they did with this big, beautiful bill, and if I'm being totally honest, the big, beautiful bill as a business owner, is going to save me a bunch of tax money in the next year. Like it is. Like it's, as a citizen, I don't like it. As a business owner, it's a great thing. But at some point, and this is why I stood up kind of in opposition to it, at some point, even if it's going to benefit us, it will benefit me.
Well, there's a dichotomy
But you
there
have
too.
to stand up and say, even though it's going to benefit me, it is not right. We have to start thinking about the next generations. And this national debt that's ticking up, and the interest payment on it and the interest building on it, at some point we have to say, like, yes, that tax, that little carrot that you're dangling me sure would taste nice, but no, we're not taking it.
The vector on that line, the payments on that debt, is accelerating at a pace that is shocking.
No, it's spinning. It's about to spin completely out. And this makes me wonder, like, is that where I don't know anything about the crypto stuff. I actually really wish I understood it better, but I'm like, are they preparing to kill the dollar because they can't? The dollar's in a bad way.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a dichotomy in the big, beautiful bill for you because as a business, it'll benefit you, which you then could reinvest into your people, right? So you
Right.
could look at it through that lens.
Yep.
I just hate the name of that bill, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I hate anything.
Well, any of these ominous packages,
bills, yeah.
yes, it's just throwing all this stuff in, which again is what they said they weren't going to do. And this idea that, like, well, it's going to save a ton of money in 10 and in 20 years. It's like, well, you guys are all gone. Like, you know, government writes these things. Like, no, how about we save a lot of money this year in the next 365 days?
That'll be the tough part for JD, answering the questions of, this is what you guys said you were going to do. This is what ended up happening.
Right.
Where do you stand on that? Why should the people believe you now?
Yeah.
Those are tough questions.
Yeah. It's a challenge. But I don't know. Again, I hope people understand, like, this is the government, and this is the side of government I voted for, and I'll stand by that. Like, it's the side of government I wanted to be in power, because I believe any of the issues we're having now are better than what we had for an alternative. When you're putting children on hormone blockers and you're telling me that a woman, you know, a man can be a woman, like, again, those are hard stops for me, like the Epstein thing, right? Like, we can debate tariffs, and I can respect the other side that says absolutely no tariffs or yes to tariffs and tariff your equipment and all that. Like, again, we're all playing economists here on television, but none of us really know what the hell we're talking about. I do say I feel like I know what I'm talking about in this regard with this equipment materials, because I'm a business owner that's experiencing it. And I know as a business owner what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to figure out how to fill up this building and hire hundreds of people. I know that these things prevent me from doing that. So take it for what it's worth. That's a fact. So that in that part of being an economist, I'm pretty qualified to talk about that.
Most other people would only experience it on a difference in price.
Right.
You are experiencing from a difference in what's causing that price increase because you're in that manufacturing world.
Yeah.
Where you'll make the difference is in your coffee sales.
There you go.
Well, first off, why would you want to add a coffee shop to a knife factory? Let's talk about this. Let's get to the root, the most important issues of the day.
To try and undermine your business.
Of course. But it's like 91 miles away. No, actually, you guys are 110 south.
Yeah, every customer that you ever have comes from Missoula, and so I'm just going to stop them right there.
No, they won't even know you're there.
But no, we, I really think there's a cool. I think our customer, Black Rifle Coffee's customer, is very similar to our customer. I feel like it's the person who does appreciate American manufacturing and appreciates our country and the freedoms we have, and so I think it's a similar customer. I know it is. I've experienced that. I also wanted to create we were talking about putting in a retail store area. But how do you get people off of the highway, off of the interstate, who just blast through on Interstate 90 headed east or headed west, and give them a reason to walk into a knife company they've never heard of? It's like, oh, there's a coffee shop. Oh, there's a Black Rifle Coffee. Been a fan of theirs. And they walk in, and then they discover our company. In the same sense, I think it's a benefit to Black Rifle that, you know, we're a popular growing brand. So when they come in and they come to events at our shop and whatnot, they're also learning about Black Rifle. Black Rifle, I think, has received, again, a bunch of unfair internet hate in the last few years. And I believe companies like ours can also share the stories of, like, no, I've watched Black Rifle Coffee set up a bunch of veterans without legs with bows and do all this different stuff. And no, I know the owners and I know their core values and principles. And so I think it's just a cool brand tie. I think it's a neat way to come into and experience a coffee shop in a lot different way, where there's going to be huge windows that look into our manufacturing space, and you can see the knives and you can see the people making them. And it's going to be our people in our shop that will be working up in the retail store, and we'll be switching people in and out of those roles. So you get to talk to the people actually making the knives. So it's just I think it's a cool experience.
I think so.
And a different experience than any other coffee shop would have.
I mean, I think it's clear that there's a huge overlap. I mean, you guys see the number of knives we sell in the store. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And people are, they're tourists. They're coming to Montana. They want to take something cool home.
We're selling probably 3 to 4 knives a day in the summer months. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Like Gayla was putting the hatchets out, and I think she sold them when the thing was still open.
Yeah. No, you guys have been... honestly, in the beginning, some of the orders you guys Gayla placed, I was like, oh, boy, hopefully they're not doing that just to support us. And then it's like a couple months later, it's like, we need more knives. I'm like, what are you doing?
I'll be down in the helicopter tomorrow. Put them in boxes.
Yeah. No, you guys move a lot of stuff, and it's super cool because when the first time I came up here and did podcast, you were just building that thing. And I got to walk through and I got to watch what you went through with all of the different stuff with the city, the county, all the things. And frankly, I learned some things from that, things to try to watch for. And the amount of money you spent on engineering and permitting and
even the cost of materials.
Water.
I actually think, so we built that during COVID. We had committed to the process before, you know what I mean? So we were kind of locked in. I think 30, maybe 40% over what it would cost us if we built it today.
Yeah.
I mean, lumber quotes that were good for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Would go up.
Yeah, you were in that. That was the COVID insanity.
It was literally insane. Sometimes lumber quote would be up 60%, the next day down 40.
Yeah.
I remember the electrical panel, and I don't know, you would know more about this, but it's whatever is needed to go from city power to actually get the stuff to work in the building.
Yeah.
There was a single company that could make those. They're like, it's 8 months late. I'm like, well, there's no competitors or anybody else that makes these, so thanks.
And that's that's another thing that if you are going to collect tariff money, the fact that we don't build transformers in America, or
is that what it is? It was a transformer.
Transformers were a major problem during COVID, and also all of your switch gear equipment that goes on the side of the building, all of that stuff is made overseas. And again, you want to talk about from a national security standpoint, if all of a sudden China said, we're not going to ship you any transformers, we're not going to ship you that equipment, it stops progress, to be able to have any building going on whatsoever.
If that part hadn't showed up, if it hadn't showed up when it did, we were getting ready to bump the grand opening because we wouldn't have had power.
Yeah. No, the electric grid situation, all the way, I was a lineman for the power company. The electric issue, and especially with all this AI technology and the draw that all that computer technology takes, the Bitcoin stuff or whatever you want to call it, crypto, but really the AI talk, these data centers that they're building, the power issue in this country is a big problem. And the problem is nobody, including myself, I was a lineman. I loved working on power lines. I don't want a new one in my backyard, right? Nobody wants a new power line running through their backyard. But we're going to have to build power lines in a big way. And also with these, want to talk about the fragility of the grid. Me and 4 or 5 buddies could go to the right, and I know where the substations are. You go to the right substations and very easily knock off the right transformers on that system. And these are transformers that are a year and a half out. Mm-hmm. Like you don't keep, 500 kVA transformers in a yard somewhere. Those are special order. We're building a power line, and in 4 years, we're going to land a 500 kVA transformer. That's how far out this stuff's ordered. You could knock out the entire West Coast in a couple hours. It's scary how exposed we are. And it's a freaking chain link fence you climb over. I mean, these aren't secured facilities. But again, we don't make that. We lost a big transformer on the 100,000 volt line out at Superior one year, and we set up a temporary transformer, a substation on a semi-trailer deal for an entire summer, and a guy was paid to sit there and man that and fill it with diesel every day. Yeah. And it took like 8-9 months to get that town back on their substation. Wow. And that's just one. So what happens if you knocked out 40 of those across the country in a coordinated attack?
Let's not give people ideas. Well, happier thoughts.
Those ideas are out there. It's crazy, but I don't know, man. It's I'm very thankful for the country we live in, our customers. I think I have so much hope that I think. But when we see ourselves starting to go down the wrong path, as citizens, we need to call it out no matter what side of the aisle we're on. And it doesn't mean we don't still support those people, but I think you are supporting by being honest. It's the same thing of telling your buddy, like, hey, bud, I think you're drinking a little too much. Like, a little worried about you, you know?
I agree.
How'd
you meet Brandon? He's like the hidden face behind MKC.
He is, yeah. He's the genius behind the marketing. I was at Winter Strong at Sornex, and I was just telling people about like this company I wanted to build, and I asked a couple of their video guys. I was like, hey, I need to build a website. I need some photography, some content. And do you know any good photographers in Montana? And I'm in South Carolina. And these guys were like, actually, I do know one. He's up in Kalispell. And they were like, is that close to you? I'm like, a couple hours. So when I got home that spring in March, I paid him. I just called him up. I hired him to come down. He shot some photos for me. And I explained to him what I wanted to build in a company and how I wanted to look and feel and the goal. And he's like, well, I can build you a website. I'm like, all right. So he's like, well, I'll build you a homepage and send it to you, see if you like it. So he went home that day, and that night he sends me a homepage. I'm like, holy shit. Like,
is that what he was doing at the time? He was focusing on like digital
He was
marketing?
working for Flag Nor Fail.
Okay.
And he was doing their marketing, and he was actually on the side building up and it was going well. He was 6 months later, he actually quit Flag Nor Fail, not to do MKC, to run his own marketing agency.
Sweet.
He had built that on the side. So he was working for Flag Nor Fail, doing their stuff for Rob and Dana. And he was just doing marketing stuff at night. And I think that's what he was looking at my deal as, like, hey, another client for his marketing agency, right? So he built me this web page, and I was like, damn, like that. He got the feel of everything I wanted, like the photography that he did. Like, he's talented. So like, yeah, build me a website. So we worked on that throughout the spring of 2020. And actually, I was driving up to the ski hill with my wife to go to my first tack, the COVID tack in Big Sky. And he called me as we were pulling into the parking lot up there, and he's like, hey, your guys' website's live. And we had launched it with the Blackfoots. And that was July of 2020. And so then he kept helping me do stuff through the fall. And I told my wife, I'm like, this guy's really freaking good, but I can't afford to keep paying him because I was still a lineman and trying to just build this on the side. So I talked to him in August, and I was like, hey, do you want to partner up on this? And we chatted a little bit about it, and we came to an agreement basically September 1st to partner on the business. And my idea of it was, this is either going to go big or it's not going to go at all. Like, I didn't have real small aspirations on it. And then, so he had, by the time we partnered, he'd already quit his job. Again, I think he was looking at this like it's low risk. He's going to do the marketing anyway for me. If it grows into something, it's something for him. If not, and MKC goes away, he still just got all his marketing clients.
He's got such a good eye for it, man.
Yeah.
He can nail the digital stuff for sure.
He's really good. And then he was training a guy during that time to help him with some of his marketing stuff. And as MKC really took off in 2021, by the middle of 21, I was like, bro, you need to be on this like full time, which he was realizing that. So he was letting Mike kind of run some of his stuff for him on the marketing side. And Brandon was spending all his time on MKC. And finally, Brandon offed all of his marketing stuff and brought Mike over. And that's who's running our website, is Mike. So Mike's been with us from day one. So
begs the question, what collaboration are we going to do that involves helicopter and hunting, the two H's, if you will, in Montana?
Do you want to fly me to Alaska for my goat hunt next month?
No.
It's a long helicopter ride.
I would 100% do it. That's
a long flight. Yeah.
There's some pretty cool things you could do just in Montana.
No, there's Well, I got a really cool photo the other day randomly. Tim Sheehy sent me a photo, and it was kind of a selfie, but in the back of his plane was his little boy, and it was, I think, his 8th birthday, and he was
they went camping.
flying camping. Yeah. And he landed on some public land. They camped, and Tim sent me a picture because his little boy, Bruce, had our MKC hat on. But that's an example of like flying into landlocked, public land, which thankfully we kept that off of the
that was
big
another
beautiful
issue
bill.
that kind of combined both left and right. A little bit apolitical. People are like, no, I don't think you should sell off public land like that.
Yeah, you don't have the right to decide to sell our public land.
Every once in a while, there's
build
these
some
little
houses.
issues where everybody can just, let's all hang out by the fire.
Gives you a little hope. Like maybe we could all actually agree on a few things that are
It's
important.
usually squashed within hours or minutes, so it's fine. But yeah, for a few moments.
Yeah.
There's got to be some cool stuff we could do around hunting in Montana with the heli, because that thing is freaking designed for it, man.
Yeah.
You can live so much with that bird.
Yeah. No, we definitely need to figure out something this fall to go do for sure. Did anybody find your hidden?
I never heard from the person who did, but I heard in the comments. The best one, my favorite, was me and my son just risked our lives coming out here in 3 to 4 foot wind chop, and it was gone. So I have to assume,
really?
Yes. But I got 3 more. Actually, Michael, no, you weren't even involved with that. It was Johan, right? Did you have any involvement? Johan has to go because he's, quite frankly, the star of the show. It's just the stream of German consciousness, mostly because he has no idea how to turn the camera off, so he just kept talking to it.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic, and he absolutely loved it. So, yeah, we need to do that. I have 3 more. I need to get 3 more knives from you, actually, is what I need.
Yeah, we can do that.
That's an easy one. But
I just brought a bunch up, so we'll
what are you talking about? You brought 1 up.
Well, I have a whole pickup load of stuff for your store that your
Gayla, just swiping credit cards.
Gayla, yeah. I think Gayla's selling them on the side. She's got a little side gig going.
I tell you what,
eBay gig.
We get hit up almost every day for people who want to buy them and have us ship them to them, and we hold a very hard line. No, we will not do that. And they're like, why not? I'm like, I'm not competing with your website.
Yeah.
Like, we force them to come into the store.
Well, we're going to do that even with our store. We're going to do some stuff knife-wise and even some of the accessory stuff where you have to come to the store to get it.
Yep.
And that's kind of the point. It's kind of the point. It makes that store special.
Well, it's that, and you let us sell them because you trust us, obviously. And the last thing I need is somebody sending it, like, hey, I bought this knife online from Andy's coffee shop, and it came messed up, and I need you guys to fix this. Be like, hey, Andy, what are you doing? Yeah. No, it's come to the store. Or send somebody you know to the store. Mm-hmm. That's the solution that I provide for them. But it's going to be in person. It's the only way we do it.
Yeah. Yeah, your coffee shop is like none other I've ever been in. And I've even been in some of the other Black Rifles. I mean, I was just in the one down in Clarksville, Tennessee. Cool store. I like really cool the way they did like all the wallpapering of all the old, scenes of probably was like World War II or World War I stuff. But again, a neat coffee shop, but there's nothing like your store. Your guys'
we built it that way. That's what it was designed to be like. So,
but I remember you telling me, like, you had that vision. Like, you did exactly what.
Yeah.
There was no accident there.
No, everything in there. I mean, I would certainly change some things. As an example, the keys for the toilet roll dispenser. What country do you think our toilet roll dispenser comes from?
America, for sure.
No.
Oh, like Wyoming.
No.
It's a big manufacturing state.
Turkey.
Turkey.
Yes.
Really?
I don't know if you've ever tried to order spare keys from Turkey.
I go to Istanbul a couple times a month.
Yeah. They're not cheap. And since we had to order some, my guidance was perhaps take this to the Ace Hardware and see if we can make some extras.
Yeah.
But, things like that I would probably pay more attention to in the design iteration phase. Like, what's the cost? I'm sorry, we're getting this from where? You no longer work on this project. Send me somebody who's reasonable.
See, now these are the things we're in the toilet roll like ordering phase right at the moment. So
don't get them from Istanbul.
I might have to.
We told them to swing for the fences. Probably should have changed some of the vernacular used with the architects because they were actually doing exactly what we said. And the shop is what it is. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't need Turkish toilet paper holders.
I always wondered why it was my favorite bathroom in the state. Now I know.
My favorite aspect is the C-130 lights that come on and off when you lock the door.
100%.
That was actually my only probably.
I just wish there was wind in the bathroom to match it.
I mean, we could probably do this. I'm sure there's a movie FX coordinator that could solve this for us. Like when you click it and you open the door, it's just like.
What would be awesome if it was on a pressure sensor and it didn't kick on until you sat on the toilet with your pants down. It just blows your hat off.
God, that would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be. Well, thanks for letting me come up and bitch a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to turn this one. We'll get this out next Friday, a week from today.
Awesome.
A little State of the Union, State of Manufacturing with Josh Smith. A little whiny.
I hope.
A little whiny, a little snively, you know.
Yep. Well, you know, like I told...
Here's the secret.
I told our senators...
Record those videos.
Yeah.
But don't post them. You know?
Yeah, there you go. I did go through it. I broke it down even more in detail on my podcast just as a solo episode for people that are actually interested in this stuff. But I did, you know, I texted a little bit with our senators and I said, you know, I called, you know, you talk to Trump Jr., you do what you can as a citizen, and I'm a little bit more connected than some, like at least have that ability. And when you don't get any like answers or path forward of like, well, hey, here's a connection with a guy that like maybe you should chat with in the government, maybe we're interested. If it's just like, yeah, we don't know what to tell you, then your only option is to turn around and just be loud and hope that it drives a conversation, you know?
Yeah.
Because like I want to try and help solve maybe a problem that if I'm having, I guarantee you, and I'm on a tiny scale, I guarantee you this is a problem on a way bigger scale than just myself.
You know, the being loud is, I think, one of the answers to how you hold the government accountable. It's one of the tools, especially in the modern era that we live in, where everybody can be their own journalist. It's one of the ways that it may not always work because, let's just be honest, not all issues people care about.
Worked on public lands.
It really did. And it seems to be, again, it's this, we're kind of back around the campfire here thing about this just, I mean, I don't even know how an investigative organization like the FBI maintains any faith unless they can just like, of course, redact and like protect victims. But lay that stuff out there and let people make up their own mind.
There shouldn't be anything in that Epstein deal that is sensitive from I mean, there's no, I don't imagine that there's any military operators or, you know, even if you had some CIA operatives that were involved and you want to redact those names to hold if they are undercover or whatever, fine. But there is no reason that stuff can't absolutely just be put out in full. Like you say, redact victims' names protects the innocent, but
don't protect the guilty.
The being loud is the only thing that we have, and it does work when people band together. And again, people can complain, you know, say on our side of like, well, we're mega, we got to stay together, and you know the left doesn't do this, you know, the right always gets fractured. And it's like, no, I would argue that a lot of times us on the right are more willing to stand on our own 2 feet and not just be attached to a god in the government. You know, I don't think you saw a lot of, say, Democrat people stand up during COVID when they were shutting down government and masking stuff and all this stuff that was going on. You didn't see a lot of people on the left going, hey, this is wrong. You saw it on the right. But I think that's what makes the right a lot of times unique, is that we're willing to call our own out too, which I think is that's a good quality.
I remember deep into COVID, I ran into you and Jess in the airport, and you were literally the only 2 people not wearing a mask.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
I think we were right at that, right before you go down the stairs when you go from the A to the B terminal. I was like, oh, it's Josh.
The B march.
Oh.
The other time that I saw you in the tournament, in the terminal there, somehow my right foot launched into space, and you tried tripping me.
I did that. I ran into Brandon there quite a bit behind.
Too. Did you trip him?
No, he's fragile.
He's
weak,
fragile.
You know. Now the other walkway is open. You can, there's 2 portals over to the B terminal.
Yeah, it's getting better.
Man, yeah, that's a ridiculous airport.
Yeah.
But I digress. All right, man, let's get you back on the road.
Thanks a lot.
Cool. Yep.
Appreciate it.